Thank you for joining the September meeting of the RTC Board of Commissioners. Mr. Chairman, staff is ready for you to begin.
Excuse me, this is Mayor Goodman, and I'm just wondering, was the meeting posted to begin at 9, in which case we cannot begin now?
We are posted for 8:45 a.m.
I apologize and just trying to keep us in line. Thank you.
It's all good. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary, and good morning. We'll call to order the meeting of the RTC Board of Commissioners. Staff will begin with a roll call of the board members, introduce staff online, and touch on a few housekeeping items.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mayor Dubois, Management Analyst for the RTC for the record. I will be calling your name in alphabetical order. Please confirm your attendance as I read your name. Mayor Pro Tem Stavros Anthony.
Here.
Councilman Isaac Barone.
Here.
Chair Larry Brown.
Present.
Councilman George Galt.
Here.
Commissioner Jim Gibson.
Here.
Mayor Carolyn Goodman.
Here.
Vice Chair Deborah March.
Here.
Mayor Kiernan McManus. Mayor McManus, do we have you? We'll skip to Director Christina Swallow.
Here.
Mayor McManus, are you on the line still? We'll check back with him in just a second. Thank you. Also, please note that we have several RTC staff on the line for today's meeting. This includes Ms. MJ Maynard, CEO, Mr. David Swallow, Deputy CEO, Mr. Francis Julian, Deputy CEO, Mr. Mark Trosdahl, CFO, Ms. Angela Castro,
I'll give you a call back here in about an hour.
Chief Strategy, Policy, and Marketing Officer, Mr. Greg Gilbert, RTC Outside Legal Counsel, Mr. JP Penuelas, Senior Director of Engineering, and Ms. Eileen Pastor, Government Affairs Supervisor, will be reading public comments. As the chairman mentioned, I have a few housekeeping items to go over. Please state your name for the record before speaking. Be sure to mute your line if you are not speaking, but please note that staff will monitor lines and mute any callers with background noise. Voting will be done verbally as a group, calling for ayes and nays. If there are no nays or abstentions, then the motion will carry. If there are nays, then a roll call vote will be required. In the event of a roll call vote, please wait for your name to be read to provide your vote. The chair will call for any comments or questions after an item has been presented. And that's that. Mayor McManus, do we have you on the line? I just wanted to check one more time before we move forward.
I'm on the line. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Mayor. All right, Mr. Chairman, that concludes my speaking points. It's now over to you.
Thanks, Marin. Ms. Maynard?
Thank you, Chairman Brown and members of the board. MJ Maynard, RTC CEO for the record. The first item on the agenda is to conduct your first citizens participation period. To allow for public participation, the RTC is accepting public comments via email at publiccomments@rtcsnv.com. Comments can be submitted to be read aloud or to be added directly to the written record. Ms. Eileen Pastor will read the public comments received by the RTC. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. This is the first time set aside for public comment. Time's limited to comments on the items on the posted agenda. Comments will be limited to the first 500 words, with the remaining words to be included in the written record. Do we have any comments?
Thank you, Chairman Brown. Eileen Pastor, RTC Government Affairs Supervisor for the record. You do have one public comment for item number 59 from Patrick Hughes from the Fremont Street Experience. Dear Ms. Maynard, it was a pleasure speaking with you and Mr. Julian Tuesday about the proposed changes to the RTC transit service to and from downtown Las Vegas. Like the RTC, our Fremont Street Experience board members have also been severely impacted by COVID-19 and understand well the challenges this has presented. While we are encouraged by the proactive effort to reroute the Deuce bus service in order to make up for the elimination of the SDX line back in March, we nonetheless still have concerns over the impact this will have on downtown visitation. The elimination of access to Casino Center through the gaming corridor and removal of direct access to Main Street via the same line are of most concern. To better understand the challenges, additional ridership data between the SDX and Deuce would be helpful. Other details would bring more clarity, such as which stops will be eliminated between the two services and which will remain, and the impacts to frequency and length of trip. We know the RTC is attempting to manage a difficult situation, just like all our downtown partners, which is why we think there is still more room for collaboration between us. We consider the RTC an important partner in helping our members restore a vital tax base to the city and look forward to more conversations with your team. Mr. Chairman, that concludes your comments for the first citizens participation.
Thank you. And we'll close this portion of public comment. Ms. Maynard?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next item is to approve the agenda. The agenda is in order and ready for approval.
Entertain a motion.
This is Mayor March. Motion to approve the agenda.
Heard the motion. All in favor, say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next item on the agenda is to receive the CEO report. First, we want to recognize a mechanic from our contractor, Keolis. Deputy CEO Francis Julian surprised Ireneo de la Cruz, who's also known as June, with the honor. Francis?
Thank you, MJ. This morning, I'm so pleased we're actually going to surprise June de la Cruz. June, during the COVID period, did an awesome job. He actually streamlined all the processes for the service workers to sanitize the vehicle, but to make sure as well that the buses were all sanitized before they came to the maintenance bay to make sure him and his colleagues were safe. So congratulations, June, and let's go and surprise them. Congratulations. I want to present you with a crystal bus for all the great work you did during COVID. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thanks so much for the award for RTC and MJ and board. And thanks for my coworker, Keolis, and most of the RTC. I'd like to say thank you because I'm the one choose me for this award.
What a great individual he is. Next, we'd like to recognize a security officer from our contractor, Marksman Security. And Francis surprised Officer Aaron Vasquez at work. Francis?
Thank you, MJ. This morning we're at IBMF, and I'm so pleased we're going to recognize an officer from Marksman Security, Aaron Vasquez. Aaron was actually driving down the street and saw an elderly man that was on the street, obviously confused. He immediately stopped his truck, made sure the truck was blocking the elderly gentleman, took him to the sidewalk, called medical, and waited for medical to arrive to make sure the gentleman was not going to put himself in harm's way. Good morning, Aaron. Francis Julian, I'm the Deputy CEO for the RTC. Just wanted to congratulate you and surprise you with a crystal bus for what you did on July 24th, helping that elderly man. Thank you so much. You make us proud.
I appreciate that.
There you go.
I'd like to thank MJ, the commission, for this award. I truly appreciate it. I try to live by the values that we have at Marksman, especially by integrity. Always do the right thing, even when no one's watching you. I was not expecting this. I'm very surprised, a great surprise. And I just want to thank all of you for this award.
There are many heroes working among us. What a great guy. Okay. So this coming Monday marks United for Infrastructure, formerly known as National Infrastructure Week. Now in its 8th year, United for Infrastructure is a national effort in which the RTC participates to bring many voices together to act and speak to the importance of our nation's critical infrastructure assets. This year, the pandemic has severely impacted our health and economy, and widespread discussions about racial injustice have permeated every corner of our society. This unique time in history also presents an opportunity to improve the transportation infrastructure that all Americans need to reduce barriers to jobs, education, and essential services. While our new normal will make our commemoration of the event different this year, it continues to be important to highlight the many resources and opportunities available to individuals and local businesses, and that's why we're partnering with community organizations to spread the word. We also believe it's important to thank the many individuals who contribute to Southern Nevada's infrastructure and make our region as strong and vibrant as it is. Here's a look at some of these folks you'll see highlighted in a series of blog videos.
During this time of COVID, infrastructure remains an important part of Southern Nevada, keeping the economy going and laying the foundation for years to come.
What I see out here is not just projects, it's livelihoods, it's jobs for hardworking Southern Nevadans who need to provide for their families, and it's good to see.
Being a part of this infrastructure is a wonderful thing. It gives me a sense of doing something for myself as being a worker, making things better here in the city.
Essential workers are working both day and night, continuing to make improvements.
Our city, our area has done a pretty good job of staying ahead of traffic congestion and other things like that compared to other cities. We just need to keep staying ahead of it, keep the projects coming, and keep everybody busy.
We will help the entire community, from the highest heights and below the ground, making sure we are safe, checking every detail. Thank you, essential workforce, for keeping us going and keeping us united. United for infrastructure. Join us in celebrating United for Infrastructure. Visit rtcsnv.com for more information.
And this concludes the CEO report. I can answer any questions the board may have.
Comments or questions for MJ? Thank you. Moving on.
The next item is to receive the NDOT Director's Report, and Director Christina Swallow is on the line to give an update for NDOT.
Good morning. It's great to be here talking about Southern Nevada infrastructure yet again. On the next slide, I'd like to start, as I always do, with safety. And unfortunately, the news is not good. Across the state, we're up in terms of fatalities compared to last year by almost 4%. And that is even more concerning when you consider that while March and April, traffic volumes were down by 30, 40, in some cases as much as 80%. And they have recovered. They're still hovering at 10 to 20% below regular volume. So it's especially disturbing that our fatality rate is higher than it was this time. In Clark County, there is some positive news. Fatalities are down almost the same, so 3.5% compared to August of last year. And so the overall concern is actually attributable much to what's going on in our rural counties. In Clark County, motorcyclist fatalities have also dropped over 20%, and the number of bicycle fatalities went from 4 last year to 0 at this time this year. However, we have seen, unlike last month, we have seen some troubling increases in Southern Nevada. Pedestrian fatalities are up by almost 11%, and occupant fatalities are up by 4%. So we're always happy when we have positive news, but we need to continue to stay focused and vigilant on the negative and areas where we may be able to improve. The story that I wanted to share this month involves the loss of 2 lives and 3 others that were significantly injured on Mount Charleston in late August. The black Nissan Altima was carrying 5 passengers while traveling westbound on State Route 157 or Kyle Canyon Road. Near Echo, when the driver did not navigate the curve. The vehicle struck a guardrail, rotated down an embankment, and hit a large tree. Unfortunately, none of the passengers were wearing seatbelts. One passenger was ejected, and that passenger and the driver died on the scene. 2 of the other occupants were airlifted to the UMC trauma unit, and the 5th was transported by ambulance. Impairment was not believed to be a factor in the crash, but we remind all travelers, not just drivers, but all travelers, every passenger in the car, to always buckle up. Buckling up is one of the primary focus areas of the Zero Fatalities program and is the single most effective thing you can do to protect yourself in a crash. It only takes seconds, and this one action can reduce the risk of serious or injury and death by 50%. So buckle up yourself, make sure your children are buckled, and make sure all of your passengers are also buckled up. Next slide, please. So this slide, I wanted to do a follow-up. About a year ago, Councilman Barone brought to our attention a concern he had of the roadway condition on I-15 North. And we actually have a project going forward. So we recently awarded a $964,000 contract to Aggregate Industry to repair 2 50-year-old bridges between Cheyenne and Craig Road. They're at grade, so you don't even know that they're a bridge, but they cross the Las Vegas Wash. These bridges carry 4 lanes of traffic in each direction and see about 100,000 vehicles daily. The project will improve the safety and extend the life of the structures by removing damaged and unsound concrete, which is what the councilman alerted us to, replacing a protective overlay on the surface to help protect the bridges and improve rideability and safety, and reconstructing the concrete headers and bridge joints. Construction is scheduled to begin October 5th, with daytime and overnight lane closures to be expected. Travel lanes will be reduced to 2 lanes in each direction between Cheyenne and Craig during daytime hours, and 1 lane in each direction from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. nightly. These restrictions are expected to last for the duration of the project, which is anticipated to finish by late December. Unscheduled construction changes, closures, and restrictions are possible due to weather or other factors. And so we remind drivers to check with nvroads.com or call 511 before driving through the area. And of course, the local news will also keep everybody up to date as to what's going on with our construction. Next slide, please. Last month, I spoke about a virtual public information meeting we were doing for the I-11 corridor, the NEPA, Tier 1 NEPA for I-11 through the corridor. And this week, I'm announcing another virtual public information meeting. We are looking for public interest and comments on the Downtown Access Project. The public information meeting started on August 24th and will go through September 22nd. For this meeting, we are similarly using an online platform to share project details and receive feedback. The public can access the virtual meeting at www.ndot.dap, so Downtown Access Project DAP, ndot.dap.com. The Downtown Access Project is located along I-515 US 95 from Mojave Road, just east of Eastern, to Rancho Drive, so right through the heart of the valley. In this corridor, I-515 is a viaduct for the most of the duration, is a viaduct that consists of 2 aging bridges, the first of which was built in 1968 and the other one in 1980. These bridges require costly maintenance repairs to keep them in service and do not meet the needs of our community today. The short spacing between the many interchanges creates safety and reliability challenges, and addressing the aging infrastructure will help the area accommodate future travel demands, improve safety and travel time reliability by adding braided ramps from I-15 to and from I-15 in both directions, and address the on and off ramps that are currently spaced so very close together. The project will also provide better access to the downtown areas by the addition of 2 HOV interchanges, similar to the Neon Gateway interchange at City Parkway and Maryland Parkway. 3 alternatives are being considered, and so we want to hear from everyone, those that are adjacent to the corridor as well as those who use it. This project is in the heart of our valley, so input from the community is critical. And again, the reminder for that website is www.ndot.dap.com. And then the next slide, I want to just update you on the Centennial Bowl and where we are. Excuse me. So beginning on Sunday, September 13th, this coming Sunday at 8 p.m., we will be closing the US 95 southbound on-ramp from Oso Blanco and 215. It will remain closed for 3 weeks. Motorists will still be able to travel east and westbound along the 215 Beltway, and the detour route will take vehicles along southbound Durango to eastbound Centennial Parkway and then on to the US 95 southbound on-ramp. We're advising motorists to use caution through the work zone and heed construction signage, and if they can, take alternate corridors if at all possible. This closure is necessary so that we can tie in the new eastbound 215 to southbound 95 ramp. The new ramp will be a high-speed direct connect ramp, eliminating the previous intersection on the 215 Beltway. Construction of this phase 3C of the Centennial Bowl, is scheduled to finish later this year. And for those of you who live in the Northwest Valley, the good news is construction for the final phase, 3D, is scheduled to begin on January 4th, 2021, pending the contract award at a board meeting on Monday. So we're almost through it. We've just got one more phase of this major interchange project, and then we'll have a much better connection in the Northwest Valley. But every phase so far has improved it. And then my last slide, I just wanted a little cause for celebration. And not a lot of us use these corridors. It's actually in a more rural portion of the county, but we do have lots of folks that commute along this corridor between Pahrump and Las Vegas to work and to live. So our 2-year-long project on State Route 160, as I mentioned, the prime corridor between Clark and Nye counties is reaching substantial completion later this month. Periodically, throughout the life of the project, we've presented updates to the board when necessary, because we've had blasting, which has caused the roads to be closed for periods of time, and road work that impacted traffic lanes, causing delays, or other things that affected the valley motorists. So with this project, we've expanded a 6-mile stretch of State Route 160 near Mount Potosi from 2 to 4 lanes, creating a safe passing lane. We've altered the roadway geometry for fewer twists and turns, again, improving safety, and rehabilitated 22 miles of deteriorating roadway from roughly the Nye County line to Mountain Springs community. Other work consists of placing 5 miles of raised concrete median barrier, installing new signage, and flattening the side slopes for safer turnouts. And we've actually provided a few wildlife crossings to further improve safety, not just for the motorists, but for our wildlife in the area. So these improvements will improve the safety for all of the motorists, and we're excited to have that project almost complete. And that concludes my report.
Mr. Chairman, I have a comment or two. Could I make them now? This is Jim Gibson.
Please.
I thank you very much for that report. The attention that so much of the transportation infrastructure is getting from NDOT is very much appreciated and very necessary. I am, however, growing increasingly concerned about the, I don't know what to call it, the chatter that surrounds the West Henderson interchanges that have been the subject of some considerable discussion in our meetings, Christina. The city staff and the traffic engineer have reviewed everything. They've gone back through everything in detail and have confirmed to our satisfaction that the Via Nobila interchange is both necessary and justified in every degree that ought to be important. And the process by which we got here, I guess, is really not so important. But as I think about how we're reaching out, how you're reaching out for comment, and you want to make sure that you've incorporated into all future planning and all of the changes and the improvements that are being made, becomes especially important to us to make sure that we don't treat differently the very new needed transportation infrastructure. And what I'm advised that at least one of the project managers working on project in that area is expressing a negative opinion, suggesting to us that maybe there is still a decision, an adverse decision to be made, which, as you can imagine, because of your history and your experience, is very concerning to us. I don't know what to ask for, except that you and NDOT finally jump on the wagon here and agree that we've got to do everything that is necessary in order to accommodate both of those interchanges. The development of West Henderson is not just important to the city of Henderson, but the employment opportunities out there that are afforded people from across this valley make it essential to us generally and regionally. So our hope is that in the near term, there will be reached a conclusion to work with us to make sure that both of those interchanges are built. I know the funding is in the transportation improvement plan, and my hope is that soon we'll get to the end of this. This is not something where we are politicking. We have determined, at least for my part, and as I understand the city's position, that the real key here is to bring the design specialists and those who are real experts in the way that the infrastructure should work and work together and complement everything else that is already out there to attempt to demonstrate in an engineering way that all of this both is necessary and can and will work. And that's the level on which we really want to work on this. And so please help us with this discussion. Keep us informed as to where you're going. I mean, you have plenty to do and you have a big state to do it in, but this is especially critical to us here in this valley. So thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Brown, can I just respond briefly on that?
Absolutely, please.
Yes. So Commissioner Gibson, thank you for bringing this up. As I mentioned last month, we are fully committed to providing the access to the West Henderson community, and also working to ensure that we're providing the level of safety and travel time reliability that we need to for all of the residents of the community along I-15 and in between the actual potential 3 interchanges that are sort of at play here, including St. Rose at the north end. So I have our engineers looking at options to figure out what needs to be in consideration. If we're able to find that the 2 interchanges can work without degrading the system in conjunction with St. Rose, and no changes are needed to the public information process, we'll know that later this fall. We're planning actually on meeting with the city of Henderson and have communicated this to Mr. Rob Herr in December once we have the full analysis of that. However, if it looks like we need to do something different than 2 interchanges, and as has been previously communicated and planned, we'll also communicate that to the city of Henderson, and it will require us to go back out for public information. So we are looking at, no door has been closed on the 2 interchanges. We are looking at and trying to figure out how do we make sure that the access is provided to this critical area of development in our community, but also ensuring the safety and the reliability of the system works for everyone. So fully committed on it, planning, doing all the analysis on it, using the experts, as you mentioned, the experts who know this, to help lead that conversation, planning on coming back to City of Henderson in December, and then depending on the outcome, going forward with the public information process if needed.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, could I just make one additional comment?
Please.
I appreciate that. The one thing that strikes me, though, is that we need to avoid working in silos to the extent that people from the city of Henderson can be involved in the work that you're doing, so that we come to a conclusion that everyone can buy into, the better for all of us, including those of us that are elected officials who are not experts in this field, but we are attempting to address and respond to commitments that we've made as we've gone through the development process in that area. So to the extent that there can be an approach that is inclusive, that gets Henderson in the discussion early on, so that the conclusions that are reached are mutually agreeable, that we're not looking at two different sets of math, and so that we're really together on this. I mean, we need it. It needs to happen as quickly as it can. We understand there are impediments in the context of timing, but all of this is especially important to both the state and to the local jurisdictions. And to the extent that you can do something that encourages inclusion, that would really be appreciated. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Chairman Brown, I'd just like to add something, and I appreciate Commissioner Gibson's remarks and certainly appreciate the report that the director provided to us. What I'd like to ask, because I was impressed with her report where she covered the I-11 and some of the other areas. Perhaps as an add-on, at each of her monthly reports, she could do something on these two interchanges and everything south of St. Rose and what's happening, so that we are all being informed as to that conversation. And certainly I appreciate what Commissioner Gibson said about the collaboration, and that maybe we shouldn't wait until December to include Henderson in part of that discussion, but that we should be at the table between now and what we're going to be hearing in December from the director and from the NDOT team. So I would just like to re-echo that it's important for us to be a part of that conversation and to maybe include that as a part of the monthly conversation that occurs in the director's report.
I can certainly include a update on the I-15 interchanges in my next report.
Very good. Other comments or
Chairman
questions?
Brown? Yeah, Chairman Brown, actually, can I also add one minor comment here for Georgia Squalo and Nevada DOT? I wanted to thank them very much for addressing the situation there on the southbound lanes and probably the northbound lanes on I-15. It's a potentially hazardous situation for residents and visitors through the valley. And I want to thank you so very much for a detailed report on that and for the fix for this, that although it's going to be a little bit of commuter discomfort, it's for everyone's benefit in the future. And again, I thank you from on behalf of my city and my ward.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other comments? Ms. Maynard?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next on the agenda is to approve the consent agenda. This consists of items 5 through 58 and can be taken in one motion.
Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
A dual motion. You've heard the dual motion. All in favor? Signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
MJ, if I may, before you get going, after the presentation, Mayor Goodman would like to offer some comments and make some statements. So before we open it up for everybody's comments or questions, after your presentation, Mayor Goodman will have the floor.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Francis Julian, Deputy CEO for the RTC, will provide a presentation on the proposed transit service changes for your approval.
Thank you, MJ. Good morning, Chairman and Board of Commissioners. For the record, I'm Francis Julian, Deputy CEO for the RTC. Today, I'll provide you with an overview of the proposed transit service changes for your approval. We heard our community and proceeded with modifications to our initial proposal. Next slide, please. Just as a reminder, the RTC transit system is currently experiencing a severe drop in funding as a result of COVID-19. So to adjust for this loss in revenue, we're seeking approval to make system-wide service changes that, if approved today, would be implemented in October. The initial changes included route eliminations, route adjustments, and frequency decreases. Next slide. We know and understand that these transit adjustments will impact our customers. So we wanted to hear from them prior to today's presentation. So staff held a 60-day public comment period from June 29 to August 28.
We briefed elected officials, held in-person and virtual public meeting, met with the business community, implemented an onboard Wi-Fi survey, and relied heavily on social media to gather input from our transit customers. Next slide, please. We received nearly 4,400 completed surveys, more than 2,000 open-ended comments, 25,000 unique page views, and a total of 41,000 page viewed on our website. Next slide, please. We know that public transportation is an essential service, and those who use it will be impacted by these changes. 83% of those who responded to the survey use public transit daily or weekly. Next slide, please. Nearly 43% of our customers let us know that these proposed changes would increase their travel time, and another 23% let us know that they would ride transit less often, use their bike instead of having to walk to another route or stop. Next slide, please. More than 85% of those who responded use transit to get to work, to grocery stores, or for medical treatment. Next slide, please. On the 400 comments received, the largest negative impact we saw were the Route 207 and 209, and a large number of requests to keep the HDX service running to Sunset and Stephanie. Comments were abundant for the HDX, asking for a connection to the Galleria Mall for both work and leisure purposes. Comments for the Vegas Drive and Stewart routes focused on medical appointments and job-related mobility connections. Next slide, please. Thanks to the overwhelming feedback from our customers in the community, we are listening to them and made 3 changes to the original proposal. Thanks to the federal CARES money we received, we are changing 2 routes, the 207, which is Alta and Stewart, and the 209, Vegas and Owen, from proposed complete elimination to service hour decrease. The service will actually run during the weekdays without running during the weekend. Also, we will extend the proposed service from the Boulder City Express to the Sunset and Stephanie area in Henderson. Next slide, please. Unfortunately, we still have to move forward with eliminating the Westcliff Airport Express and the Strip Downtown Express. It's important to note that the modification to the Centennial Express will cover the most popular stops of the Westcliff Airport Express. Next slide. We're going to make routing adjustment to the Route 104 Valley View Arville, the Centennial Express, the Deuce, the Henderson Downtown Express, and the Sahara Express. Finally, we'll be implementing some frequency and service decrease. The Route 122 will see a frequency decrease, and Route 207, which is Alta and Stewart, and 209, Vegas Drive and Owens, will see weekday service. Next slide, please. These adjustments will save approximately $9 million annually from the original $10 million proposed. Once again, I want to thank all the customers and the community who participated in the comment period. With their voice, we adapted our transit modifications. Next slide, please. This concludes my presentation, and I'm available to take any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Francis. Mayor Goodman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And MJ and Francis and your entire team, I can't tell you how sensitively we are all addressing this issue, but your hard work to try to keep everything moving along is so laudable, and we thank you. It's a very, very tough time in so many ways. But I know you realize, and it was public comment right up front at the opening of our meeting, how important the RTC transit stops are to the Fremont Street experience. And I thank you so much on behalf of the city for your commitment to continue working with the FSE as the transit ridership slowly returns to the pre-COVID levels. And from what I understand, you spoke with Patrick Hughes last night, who reiterated that you continue to work with him and the FSC board And your new Route 401 servicing the FSE will actually have better frequency of service than the old SDX. And that, if it in fact is accurate, is such great news to hear. But it was wonderful to see the numbers of people, especially from Southern California, come in this past Labor Day weekend. And so the hopes are for the future very, very bright. But most important to everything is our roadways, our transit, and all that you're doing. So thank you very much, Francis and MJ, of course. And thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor.
Are there any other comments or questions? MJ, Francis, I want to kind of add on to what Mayor Goodman indicated. Fremont Street certainly critical, not only to the city of Las Vegas, but to the entire Clark County. And I think what I'm hearing is they need a commitment from the RTC, from staff, to evaluate on an ongoing basis as we do recover our ability at the RTC to change things or amend things quickly if we see those ridership moving forward or if there's any kind of adverse impact. And I think that's what it is important, that we give them that commitment, that we will stay in touch with them on an ongoing basis and monitor those ridership numbers and be able to react if need be.
Thank you, Mayor. This is MJ Maynard for the record. MJ Maynard for the record. And we absolutely agree with you, and Mayor, as you as well. We are committed to ensuring that as the ridership numbers, as the ridership picks up in the resort quarter into the downtown area, we will react. We can pivot very quickly, as a matter of fact, and plan to do so. Currently, ridership is down about 85%. We did, to your point, Mayor Goodman, we had a busier weekend than we anticipated, and Francis and his team reacted very quickly and added 10 additional Deuce buses to respond to the increased passenger load. So we are committed. We'll stay in touch with the downtown hotel group, with Patrick Hughes and his team, and you as well. The board will update you on what those numbers look like. And again, we will pivot and respond accordingly.
If I might add one more thing, Mr. Chairman, again, Mayor Goodman here. I think the center, being the center of government here with both the state and the county building, as well obviously as the city, a cultural center, a medical center, the need is so great, and I'm so grateful that the chairman made those comments, because this, as we all know, is a very volatile situation and things change. Mandates change every single day. So the fact that the involvement, your involvement and review is daily, please.
Yes.
Very good. And Mayor Goodman, if I could take the liberty of congratulating and thanking Patrick Hughes. I know he's leaving FSE. Going to spend time in the home country of Ireland, visit his mom and family, but he's been such a wonderful asset for the city and for the valley, and we wish him well.
We so appreciate him, and that's so beautiful. Yes, I don't know if Ireland's big enough to handle Patrick. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
MJ.
Okay. Thank you. The next item is to discuss legal items. That's item 60. There are not any at this time, so we can skip this item as well and move on to your last item, number 61, is citizens' participation.
Second time set aside for public comment. A reminder that comments will be limited to the first 500 words, with the remaining words to be included in the written record. Do we have any comments?
Hey, Chairman Brown, this is Maren for the record. Did we want to take the transit service changes for a vote before we moved on?
Thank you, Maren. I appreciate that. Let us recall that item 59, and we will entertain a motion.
This is Mayor March. Motion to approve the changes to the system.
You've heard the motion. All in favor, say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? That motion carries, and please incorporate those comments from Mayor Goodman. Now moving on. Public comment.
Thank you, Chairman Brown. Again, this is Eileen Pastor for the record. We do have 2 public comments for your final citizens participation. The first comment is from Stephanie Versnick. Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Stephanie Versnick, and I'm testifying before you for the 31st time. I've been testifying every month asking this commission to expand the service area in this community for 2 years and 7 months. Everyone would agree that this pandemic has impacted every person in our community one way or another. Many families have lost their jobs, homes, businesses, and livelihood. Many families have food insecurities, wondering how they are going to pay their rent or mortgage. School started almost 3 weeks ago, and living rooms are classrooms, and additional stress on the shoulders of families. Every day is a new challenge for families. Many families have lost their dignity. They are reaching out for help for the first time in their lives. These are tough times. The pandemic has taken many lives. Our numbers are fluctuating and not going down at a steady rate. Everyone is stressed. People, families are financially, spiritually, emotionally, physically stressed. The pandemic has taken a toll on everyone. We are all trying to adjust to a new normal. In my opinion, eliminating multiple routes and not expanding the service area is just adding another stress to already overwhelmed and strained families. Why in the middle of a pandemic would the RTC do this? I've stated many times transportation is essential. Many people in our community rely on public transportation, including people with disabilities, veterans, and our elderly. Why take away transportation when families are already losing so much? My son Christian continues to work at the commissary. He has adapted wearing a mask and understands that social distancing is important. I continue to pick him up at the Centennial Library and drive the 7 minutes it takes to bring him home. This is the 7th month I have asked this commission to develop an affordable premium service plan option for people who live outside of the service area. I have asked this commission to develop and put on the agenda an affordable service plan for this commission to vote. Every month I look at the agenda. Every month my request is dismissed. Why does this commission continue to ignore my request? Why not develop an affordable premium service plan to help more people? Why? Once again, this month's agenda did not address my request. I'm extremely disappointed and feel that my voice is falling on deaf ears. I think it is not only rude and disrespectful, but to not even respond to my request is just plain unprofessional. I believe as a taxpaying citizen, I deserve some type of response. As a concerned member of this community, I'm requesting again to have a proposed affordable premium service plan as an agenda item put on the October's agenda for this commission to vote on as an action item. As a commission, this request deserves your attention and action. Your second public comment is from Robin Kincaid. Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Robin Kincaid, and I have come before this commission over 24 times regarding the need to change paratransit service area back to the 2011 configuration. My daughter, Kayla, lives in the service area, but still cannot access essential services that have either relocated out of the service area, or in some instances, the business could not find a building that was in the service area. The configuration of the service area still continues to be a problem with the narrow inlets and fingers, which affect the public's access to post offices, churches, and food banks. One of the solutions to meet the needs of families that can only find housing outside of the service area and has in the past been brought to this commission is to create a premium rate for service. In August, I requested that this issue be put on the September agenda. This request, once again, was ignored by the commission. Let's not close out this difficult 2020 year without finding solutions that help persons with disabilities be able to work, attend school, and obtain essential services. I am requesting that this premium rate for service be on the October agenda. Another concern is the Ride Check Rider Alert system. In the past, riders and their families could log in and adjust their notification system. The system has not only been available for months and makes it difficult to change notifications from email to text. I appreciate some attention to this, and this access is restored. I am requesting that the RTC public comment process be reviewed, and in the interest of transparency, the Commission explores a way to allow verbal comment by phone or other means. I am also requesting that the Commission be present on video feeds so that the public can be clear that quorum and other open meeting laws have been followed. Lastly, please consider finding a way to fix the service area configuration and offer a premium rate so we do not continue so we do not continue to keep persons with disabilities from accessing what they need to create meaningful lives. Thank you for your attention, and I wish you and your family good health. Chairman Brown, that concludes your comments for the final citizens participation.
Thank you. We'll close this portion of public comment. Thank everybody for participating today. This meeting is adjourned.